Hey guys, it's Misty. Welcome to my channel and thanks for joining me today. I'm here to share with you this week's challenge for the Simon Says Stamp Wednesday challenge. The theme is Anything Goes and we are featuring products from Tim Holtz. So you can go many different directions with this challenge. I'm going to be using Distress inks and Distress Oxide inks for this entire card. So I'm starting out with some Bristol Smooth cardstock. I'm blending Wild Honey and Squeezed Lemonade here. And I'm sure you'll notice that my squeezed lemonade is pretty dry. It needs to be re-inked. I don't have any, so I had to order it, but I'm going to make it work for this card. I haven't had to re-ink any of my distress inks, but I could tell, I had to go from pad to paper pretty often. So as soon as I would ink it up and bring it to my paper, it's like I had to re-ink it already, so that's how I knew it was time to re-ink it. And I'm not one of those that have to have the re-inkers for every distress ink I have. I don't think I have any re-inkers, to be honest with you. I figured I would just get them as I needed them. Trying to save some money. All right, so I'm just using some removable adhesive on the back of my cardstock there, or my Bristol Smooth cardstock, and then I taped down my stencil, which is also by Tim Holtz. And I'm just going to go over those same colors again. It gives a really cool effect. It almost looks like I added water to the stencil. I really like this stencil. I always say this, I just don't use it enough. I need to use it more often. So I'm just going to go over it once, and I'm going to go back over it and try to get as much color as I can. And then that way the areas that are lighter is where it looks like I added water to, but it looks really cool. All right, I'm going to use my anti-static pouch there. And I'm just going to heat emboss with some black embossing powder. I'm going to stamp this butterfly out several times because I just didn't know which colors I wanted to use. So I'm just going to have to try out several different colors. You might have seen I had different colored butterflies at the beginning of the video, and I have to try them. I'm a visual person, so I had to see them all. Which I'm glad I did, because now I have several other butterflies I can use, and it's how I decided to use two different color butterflies on this card. But you might see some other butterflies floating around. That's why. All right, getting back on track. See, this is how I get sidetracked so easy. It's a real problem sometimes. So I'm just heat setting my butterflies here. I use some black embossing powder. And this is the Butterfly 6 is the name of this stamp, and it's obviously you can see it's a rubber stamp. But it's a decent sized stamp for coloring, whether it be markers or pencils or watercolor or distress inks like I'm doing. I'm coloring this one to look like a Blue Mountain Swallowtail. I just love the color of those butterflies. We went to a butterfly garden when we were in Costa Rica, and it was just really cool to see all the different species of butterflies and all the different colors. I loved it. There were hummingbirds in there too, which I thought was cool. So I'm going to color these two butterflies two different ways. I'm going to use these makeup brushes for this butterfly, and then the next butterfly you see I'm going to use a finger dauber, and it's quite drastic how different they are just in putting color down right away. So for this butterfly, I'm using these brushes here. I haven't used the smallest sizes before, so I thought this was a good opportunity to test them out. And there's only two really small ones, so I had to kind of move up in size for that last color. But I used that one on the edges just because, I could go outside of the lines. I was going to cut it out anyway. I figured it was better to do it on the outside edge than inside. So I'm just going to quickly fussy cut this one out. I'll spare you the cutting process. I left a tiny, tiny border around it. I thought it was pretty because, you know, it was colored the same color because I went outside the lines, but I don't know. I just liked it, so I left it. And that's going to go over some of the colors again. I really wanted the center to be a dark blue. Turned out so pretty too once it was done and dried. Yeah, like I said, the salty ocean is what brought the vibrancy to it, I think. Well, I take that back. The blueprint sketch was pretty vibrant too. Tumbled glass, you can't really see the tumbled glass all that much, but I don't know. I liked it. So you'll see me tapping here. I'm still trying to figure out which colors I want to do. I kind of had a rough idea. So for this one, I'm going to do barn door and spiced marmalade. And I wasn't expecting these colors to be so vibrant from the sponge dauber. I mean, look at that. That was a pretty intense color right off the bat, which is great. I mean, I loved how bright it was. It just kind of surprised me. So the brushes, I think the brushes work better with Distress Oxide colors because I've heard people say, you know, they've had to build up the colors, and with the brushes, they don't have to build up the color anymore. But yeah, these daubers work really great too. I forgot why I quit using these. I think I just had them sitting in my windowsill forever, and the sun kind of damaged them, and yeah, I haven't been using them, but this makes me want to go back to using them. For little images like this, they're perfect. But they certainly wouldn't be my first choice for if I was blending an entire background. So this is a tool I've never used before. These are actually used, they're meant for cake frosting. What is that? Fondant, however you say it. But they worked really good for this. I usually just take a pencil to give my wings a little bend, but I watched a video on how to use these for the fondant, however you say that. And I just kind of mimicked that. You just kind of roll it on the back, and it gave the wings a really cool, it just kind of rounded the wings out. And one of the gals on our design team, Debbie, does these really awesome cards where all of her cards have dimension to them. And I have no idea what she uses to get the dimension, but this was kind of my take on it. But you got to check out her cards because, I mean, I don't know, I've never seen cards like hers, but it looks really cool. But I've always just used a pencil to kind of round out my butterfly wings. Or you just bend them up with your hands. That works too. If you go to the Simon Says Stamp Wednesday challenge blog, then you'll see her cards. And I was doing it on a foam mat. I forgot to say that too. Which is what I think gave it its curve. Alright, I'm using this sentiment from the Bouquet of Thanks stamp set by Simon Says Stamp. And I'm just taking some black cardstock and heat embossing it with some white embossing powder. I really like the font of the sentiments in the stamp set. And I figured, you know, I really don't have any sympathy cards, so I have such a hard time trying to line up my sentiments. I did the best I could. But see, no matter if I stamp it cattywampus, I have the paper trimmer with the wire guide. It's the Fisker's paper trimmer. I don't use it that often, but I do use it for sentiments. And you'll see here in a second. I start off with my normal, smaller tonic paper cutter that you see here, which is fine, but you can't really cut it again. See, with that guard there, it's hard to get these narrow sentiments cut once you make that cut. So I am always going to hold on to this paper cutter because it's nice. You can see where it's going to cut and you can see if it's straight. So I just do that on both sides if I need to. And that's exactly what I did. I took a little bit more off the top and the bottom. My, it looks like I'm petting it here, but my blade was dull, so I realized it after my first cut. And I always think if I run my fingers over it, it's gonna smooth it out. Which it doesn't, so I don't know why. See, I'm doing it again here. Maybe, I don't know. You can't really notice it, so I don't know why it bothers me so much. But I wasn't about to do it over. So I'm just trying to figure out where I want my sentiment. I couldn't decide if I wanted it in the lower right corner here or more towards the center, but not quite in the center. But I knew I wanted it on the right side, so I'm going to go ahead and cut that side. And then I'm going to attempt to freestyle a banner end, which I don't know what possesses me to do this because they never look good when I do them. I don't know why. I just can't seem to get them right. They always look funky, but you know, it's a handmade card, so I'm trying to loosen up in my older age. Getting old and wise. Yeah, see, I was going to try to fix it because it's kind of off, but I thought, no, I'm just going to make it worse, so I just left it. There I am, still trying to brush away the frazzled edge. So here's where I thought I wanted two of the same color butterflies, and I just can't decide. So since I can't decide, I'll move on to something else. I went ahead and cut my background. So I cut the front panel down to 4 by 5 1/4 so that my back panel is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And I still just can't really decide, so I think this is where I ended up taking a picture. It helps me sometimes if I take a picture of my two options, whatever I'm torn about, and look at them that way. I don't know why that helps me, but it helps me for some reason. So I'm going to add some black craft foam to the back just to give it a little more dimension. Can never go wrong with popping it up on craft foam. So here's kind of where I decided that I actually liked it with the two different color butterflies. I really thought I was going to have two of the same color, but I couldn't decide which one I liked more, the blue butterfly or the reddish orange one. So this is the Nuvo Deluxe adhesive in my syringe here. And I'll have a link to where I get my syringe in the description below. It's very handy. So because my wings, it's hard to tell from this angle, but my wings are bent up, so I just used that ball to hold the center down while it dried. So my finger was too fat. And then see, for the orange one, I put glue on the antennas and I glued them down, and I actually put glue on the antennas on this one too, but luckily before I pressed it down, I really liked how it looked not being pressed down, so I left that one up because, you know, it gives it kind of a shadow underneath it. I like that. Yeah, so I was hoping that they weren't stuck down, but I knew too much time had passed. So the top one is stuck to the card front there, but that's okay. And I'm just going to quickly glue my sentiment in place. As you can see, I decided to put it in the lower right corner. I'm going to overkill it with glue here. I either overdo it with the like foam squares or foam tape, or I overdo it with the glue. Just always overdoing it. And then at the last minute, I my card needed some shimmer, so I took the Wink of Stella clear pen and I went over both butterflies, and it gave it quite a bit of sparkle. But then after I'm all done and turn the camera off, I decided to take some sheer shimmer spritz in sparkle and spray it over the entire card. I just held my finger over the sentiment. I didn't necessarily want it on that banner, and then sprayed the rest of the card. But I just wanted a light layer of glitter, so I did it kind of like you do perfume. So I sprayed it in the air, and then I pulled my card through it. I did that twice, so it's just a really light kind of shimmer. Didn't want it too much. Not too much pizzazz for a sympathy card. Gotta read your audience. Or is it know your audience? Read the room? Know your audience? I don't know. You know what I mean, though. And then my card needed a little embellishment, so I'm just going to add these black gems. Or jewels. I think they're called jewels. I love these black ones. I don't have many other colors, but I have silver and black, but I really like them. I like them better than the sequins. And that is it. That'll finish off my card for this week. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, you know what to do by now. Like, subscribe. I'll have all the supplies that I used listed and linked in the description below as always, and I'll have it also over on my blog, including links to the Simon Says Stamp Wednesday challenge in case you want to join us this week for the Anything Goes challenge. It goes from Wednesday to Wednesday, so you have a whole week to make something and link it up, and you have a chance of winning a $50 gift card to Simon Says Stamp. So, all right, guys, I'll see you soon. Thanks. Bye.